some news today where in the second pitch, we had to see Vincent Velasquez get taken out of the game, and he was removed. They're looking like bicep injury there. I just heard Pete Mackinnon in his post-game presser. Sounded like he said that area shows that there's not a lot of concern, Ryan. But this is a guy who had Tommy John surgery. He's had some high pitch counts so far this year, and for him to have velocity down like that was a little bit of a concern, seeing him take himself out of the game, I guess. They took him out, but a little bit of a concern there, right?
Yeah, I actually wasn't at the game. I'm doing draft preview stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is the concern. I mean, when everybody saw Vince Velasquez this spring, when they saw that 16 strikeout game, everybody was like, how the heck did they get this guy for Ken Giles, in addition to, the package they got back? Well, this is part of, why they got him back. There's concern over, his arm. There was even some, after that they had agreed on the trade, and that's part of the reason Mark Appel was put in this trade for a little bit more insurance, of getting a little bit bigger of a package back and just increasing your chances that someone will pan out and give you something, in the future for Ken Giles. So, yeah, I mean, he's durability has been an issue. He's had injuries, like you said, Tommy John. So, yeah, this is just part of Vince Velasquez's baseball history, is that he's had issues, health issues.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's concerning. He's a young kid and he hasn't even had a full year in the big leagues. And it seems like, even in the minor leagues, he hasn't been able to get through a full season healthy. So it's very concerning.
Yeah, no doubt. And lifted today with 2 pitches, 186, 187. And this is where, going back to spring training, you wondered, with his arm problems, but the electric arm, is he better served down the road as maybe a back end of the bullpen guy just because of all the arm issues? But he has been a guy who's been electric to watch at times, but he has been inconsistent, and the pitch counts have been high. You wonder if it's just time to shut him down for a little bit now anyway, even if it's just some bicep soreness. Do you anticipate that is what is coming for him, just to take a little bit of a break?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably premature to say exactly what they're going to do, or to say what the best thing is, because I don't know exactly what this is. But yeah, I mean, the conservative approach probably is never the wrong approach when it comes to pitchers, and especially on rebuilding teams. It's not like they need him back so they can make a run at the wild card.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, and even if that was the case, you're still going to exercise caution. So yeah, it wouldn't be surprise me at all if they shut him down. He goes on the DL, and you don't see him for a month. Again, I hate to jump to conclusions too early. This just happened.
Right.
But yeah, I think they're going to be cautious about it. And yeah, just getting back to the I think a lot of people, because of the durability issues he's had in the minor leagues, and because of his electric arm and his profile, think that he can be a closer, and maybe that's where he will end up, as we've seen. And again, I don't want to say what he is after X amount of major league starts, but yeah, he's had a problem with pitch counts, and the arm is obviously there, but the pitchability isn't quite there. And I think he's still young enough that he can. I think they'll exercise everything to get that out of him, because at the end of the day, as long as he's healthy, a 200-inning pitcher is much more valuable to a roster than a 60-inning pitcher, which what a reliever would be. So you'd rather exercise everything to make sure that he could be a starting pitcher. But yeah, if his arm can't hold up, then that's another part of the equation.
Yeah, and Ryan, by the way, Phillies lose 8-1 today, and the Phillies have the day off tomorrow. I want to get your take on the last couple of days. Ryan Howard, we've heard from the manager that he was going to sit a couple days. The unfortunate incident that happened that I still can't comprehend, and I believe that he handled it pretty well. He gets the standing ovation, then he plays. He hits the home run last night, then he plays again today. But, what is Pete Makinnon's indication to you on how they're going to – I mean, it feels to me, and you're up there more, that he's really wrestling with what to do with this guy. Like, he knows what the right answer is. He just doesn't want to give it right now. Is that what you sense as well?
I think he's just showing deference to a franchise icon. I mean, that's what Howard is. And a lot of people can't wrap their heads around that. They only remember the last 4 years, and they've kind of ignored the first 7 years of his career when Go to Baseball Reference and highlight his first 7 years.
Oh, believe me, I did that for everybody yesterday. I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
I there's no 2007 through 2012 without this guy.
Right. But with all that said, and it even goes back to 2005 when he came into the league. He was Rookie of the Year. But with all that said, he's not that guy anymore. We all understand it. And Pete Mackinnon, he understands it too. So it's just that I just don't think he's ready to. I mean, I don't know how to say this right. He's not pulling the plug entirely on Ryan Howard, but he's already said that Tommy Joseph's going to get the bulk of the playing time from here on out. So I think what it is, it's a slow transition. It might not be this quick switch that everybody wants. And, but that said, Tommy Joseph did start 6 games in a row before, yesterday. So, it's not like Tommy Joseph hasn't, got off the pine in the last week. It's only just been the last 2 games. I think he's just kind of slowly, I think he was giving Ryan another shot there. And that's poor word choosing. I don't think it was really another shot, but I think he's just throwing Ryan a bone a little bit, giving him a chance to play. But I'll say this, it'll shock me if, say, in 10 of the next 14 games, Tommy Joseph isn't starting. I mean, I think Pete has said that in so many words, and I think everybody's handling this right. And I think that Ryan's handling it right. I think that he doesn't get enough credit for being a team-first guy, for understanding who he is as a player now. And I really don't see there any issue for the final 4 months if he's a bench player. He's not going to disrupt the team. He's not going to prevent anybody from getting on the field as a bench player. Bench players start occasionally, so people shouldn't freak out when he's out there occasionally. I mean, Andres Blanco starts, right? He's a bench guy. So yeah, and it's not going to impede Tommy Joseph's development. I actually was looking last night at Chase Utley when he first came in the big leagues. He shared time with Polanco for the second half of the 2004 season and the first half of the 2005 season, and it did not affect Chase Utley's future in baseball by being a part-time player. So even if Tommy Joseph splits it 50-50, which I don't foresee, it's not going to impede his development.
We're talking with Ryan Lawrence. PhillyVoice.com covers the Phillies. Zach Eflin pulled tonight from his start, and I don't know if you read anything into that. My question more is, if there was a guy, would he be the choice as the next guy to get pulled up if a Morgan was sent down or Velasquez can't make his next start? Is Zach Eflin the logical guy to be the next guy up?
I think so. I mean, Ben Lively's had a very nice season, but Ben Lively, most of that season, I think he's only had 3 starts maybe at AAA. So Ben Lively, spent the majority of the season at AA, where I think Eflin's just been pretty darn good for 2.5 months now or whatever it is at AAA. So I just think that just a little bit ahead of Lively because he's spent the whole year at AAA rather than just the last few weeks. And obviously Jake Thompson's another pretty good arm. But yeah, I would say Eflin would be next in line. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's the guy. I think he's a little younger than Lively. I think maybe 22. But it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, I think it was the same age Aaron Nola was when he jumped into the big league. So I wouldn't be shocked if Zach Eflin is the first call.
Hey, what would you be doing, Ryan, with Goodell? I mean, he seemed like he was getting some playing time and starting to, once he got some consistent time, he was starting to respond. And now with Ashe back, he played, they moved him. But do you think he's a guy, in your opinion, right now that they should just stick with and play?
Yeah, but again, I wouldn't freak out if, he's playing 6 or 7 times in a 10-day span. Like, these guys don't have to be run out there every single game. But, I think, again, over the course of a 10-game span, Tyler Goodell should probably be out there 6 or 7 of the games. And that's fine. It'll allow him to continue to develop. But they just have a mix right now of outfielders that it's just whatever. It's not a perfect mix. I think we've seen that Peter Borges is now a bench guy, and so he's been kind of slid over to out of the starting rotation. But they just got Jimmy Paredes. I think they're trying to go look at him. Cody Ashe was just activated, I think, a week ago, so they want to give him an opportunity. So yeah, I would think between Paredes, Ashe, and Goodell, between those 3, that they can make that work with 2 different positions. They can give them all equal bats. And then 3 weeks from now, whoever's playing the best, then maybe it'll be 2 guys for 2 positions. made the best man win. I think that's kind of why, again, Borges kind of isn't in the mix anymore just because he wasn't hitting. As good as he was playing on defense, the hitting wasn't, going to carry him. So I think that's what's going to come down to is between those three guys. If Ashe gets the back going and Paredes doesn't, then I think you could see Ashe in left and Goodell in right for, the majority of the next few weeks until Nick Williams joins the fray. So, yeah, I don't think that you have to worry about Goodell. He's going to get opportunities.
And all of a sudden, they're going to have so many offensive options. It's going to be like an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, we laugh about that, but yeah, the rebuild, as I said, coming into this year, there's a lot of optimism for the team, but it wasn't necessarily because of the major league team that you had to look at, what they did in the last year to bolster the farm system, and how that was going to impact AA and AAA. And if you look, the AA team is just ridiculous this year. AA Reading is, I think, they're the best record in the Eastern League. Their offense is stacked. Dylan Cousins is another name to keep an eye on in terms of outfitters that could, help the Phillies sooner rather than later. Roman Quinn's another one. So, yeah, embarrassment of riches. We can all chuckle at that, but come a year from now, that might be the case. And there'll be young guys that are unproven, kind of like your Tyler Goodell type guys, but there'll be a lot of guys excited about and only a few positions for them to play. You could see a scenario next year where you have an outfield that has Anibal Herrera in the mix, Tyler Goodell in the mix, Dylan Cousins in the mix, Roman Quinn in the mix, and Nick Williams in the mix. That's 5 guys for 3 spots. That's a good problem to have, I would think.
No doubt. There's certainly some stuff in the pipeline, and they have the draft tomorrow. You said you're working on some draft coverage. They had the first pick, and that is different than in basketball where everyone's really excited about that first pick.
Right.
Very different in baseball here. What's your feeling on, number one, what having the first pick means, and any thoughts on where they might go?
Yeah, baseball is different than basketball and football because you don't see, college football and college basketball are all over the place, and, you're watching it all the time, so these guys where, all the guys we're talking about the Phillies possibly taking in the first overall pick. We only know maybe one guy because he's right up the street in Barnegat, but I don't think that Jason Groom's in the mix. It just doesn't seem like high school pitchers are always very risky. If you look at the history of the draft, I think there's only been 3 that have been selected in the 50 years of the Major League draft, so it's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's just a bad year to have the first overall pick because there isn't an obvious stud like a Bryce Harper or Steven Strasburg or an Alex Rodriguez or even a Carlos Correa type. So, I think there's probably a handful of guys they're looking at right now, and part of the thing that goes into it is money. You have a certain amount of money you could spend, and because there's no obvious number 1 pick, they have a slot value of, I think, a little over $9 million that they could spend on that first pick. None of those guys is going to command that because they aren't, a Bryce Harper. So what they should be able to do is of those, say, 5 guys that they're down to, they can cut a deal with, if they think they're all equal and there isn't one guy that they like more than the other, they can cut a deal, get that guy for, say, $5 million instead of $9 million, and then take that $4 million savings and save that for the second-round guy and get a guy to fall to you there. Because some of these high school kids can bargain with teams and be like, well, if I'm not selected in the first 5 picks, I'm just going to go to college. And they can play that game, and then all of a sudden the Phillies are sitting there with the 41st overall pick, and they could pick that guy because they can give him money that he could have gotten in the top 5 picks. So I know that all that's a little maybe confusing, but they can get another first-round talent with that 41st overall pick. So that's something I would keep an eye on tomorrow. And, yeah, some of the names that I would keep an eye on are, A.J. Puck, I don't know. I think I'm not really high on him. I'm not sure they're going to pick him with the first overall pick. I think they like some high school outfielders, Mickey Moniak from California. I think the kid Kyle Lewis from Atlanta Area College in Mercer is a guy to look at. And then there's another high school outfitter, Blake Rutherford, also from California. So those are some names that I would probably keep an eye on for tomorrow.
All right, Ryan Lawrence, for more on the draft and the Phillies, check him out. He's over at phillyvoice.com now, and you can follow him on Twitter at RyanLawrence21. Phillies have an off day before they travel to Washington to take on the Nationals. They lose today 8-1. The big story, Vincent Velasquez had to leave early from the game we'll have more on that maybe later or tomorrow on the Sports Bash. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good night.